And like I said before, this is my opinion on things. If there are other people that prefer things a different way, but I'm trying to find what's easiest for me, and hopefully it'll be easiest for you. If not, then change things around however you'd like them. That goes for pretty much everything. Okay, the first one I have is VTOL. VTOL allows you to move your engines, and you can rotate them on certain ships. I'm not going to go through all the ships that do that, but does everybody know what VTOL is?
I know what I have it set to.
Okay.
Let's.
Yep.
Actually have a question about VTOL.
Yep.
Do you know about if it's on a ship that doesn't have VTOL? I've noticed that the toggle is still there and you can like make it light up.
Yeah, you can still turn it on off, but it doesn't really change anything the way the ship operates.
Okay.
I tested that out on a couple ships, anyways. Some of them don't rotate their engines; they have a flap, like the the C2s and those ships. Were they the cargo ships, anyways? The A2, C2,
Yeah,
and
the Hercules Starlifters.
They
Well, it's
have
kind of got a engine
flaps,
that it does
basically.
rotate down, but it's not a very far down rotation.
Okay, well that one kind of tricked me because I didn't know if it did or not, and it did actually have. Uh, so that will allow you to thrust and go upward, like a strafe up instead of forward. You can get your thrust going that way instead. Like especially if you're coming into the planet and you're coming in too hot, the best way to slow down is go into VTOL mode if you have it and strafe upward away from the planet. Next one is look ahead. Look ahead. Try to have it on a toggle so you can easily turn it off. It does not want to turn off right now. And the toggle works more often than setting it by default to off for me. Does everybody know what look ahead is? If you have any questions or I'm going too fast, let me know, but I want to try to push through
Yeah.
these.
I have look ahead disabled because I had it.
Well,
It
I
was
have it
enabled by
disabled, but
default.
it still keeps looking ahead anyways. And so I found the toggle for it and I set it to that. Anyways, the next one is lead and lag pip. I found that in certain situations, lead is better than lag. In certain other situations, lag is better than lead. So I think having a toggle for that would help a lot in combat.
What were you looking for? I'm sorry.
Lead lag pip. It's going to be targeting. It's got to be right vehicle targeting. I'm just trying to look for it.
You looking for the keybind or in the?
Yeah, what's it under?
Light stick, but maybe
There it
somewhere
is.
else.
It's under vehicles targeting. Where you bind it to is up to you. I'm not trying to do that. These are what I would suggest using that I think that would give you an edge in combat, basically. Like I said, the smaller ships, I think lead pip works better. Bigger ships, lag pip, because you can aim for the different parts on the bigger ships a lot easier.
Cool.
It's 1, 2, 3, 4 from the bottom under vehicles targeting.
Okay, so switch flight lead / lag radical.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so we should probably get that verbiage specifically so that it's easier to locate. But
Yeah,
just
you're
to
right.
say, you want to look for switch flight lead / lag reticle, not pip. So just when you're looking to activate it, right?
Yep.
Just a thought.
Okay.
Anyway, what do you suggest that you bind it to on a keyboard?
At the current moment, minus at the top of the keyboard and question mark are
Plus.
open.
I think plus is open too.
So is delete.
You've also got semicolon and that one next to the enter key, apostrophe.
Well, you know, if it's bound in the game already, you're going to get a pop-up that says, "You sure you want to do this?" So, but I know that
It's not. It doesn't have a toggle on my mouse and keyboard, and mine's default. This patch for my keyboard.
Okay.
So you'd have to have a toggle for it.
Go there. Okay. So
Does everybody understand what that does
down.
exactly?
No, explain it to me if you don't mind.
Okay, so lead pip is in front of the ship, And smaller, faster ships, you can tell which direction and how fast they are going by watching the pip. If they're going slow or towards you, it will be a small pip right by their ship. It'll be going in front of them, and that's what you. It's basically, you know how you lead a target when you're shooting a gun. If it's moving, the faster it's moving, the more you need to lead. Well, this is giving you the lead basically, and it will move back and forth depending on how fast they're going. Faster they're going, the farther in front of it it'll be. Uh, with the lag pip, it's based off of your cursor, your crosshairs that you have on your ship. So it will be off to the left and it will circle around your specific crosshairs, depending on where they are. There's advantages to both of them. The lag pip, if you don't, like, let's say there's 3 ships and they're all fighting and we're in a huge, big group war. Lag pip, you can shoot anything. You don't necessarily have to have that target selected. If you have lead pip, the target that you need to shoot at is on that ship. You know, it's based on that ship. So any other ship, you can't really shoot at them. I mean, you don't have any kind of idea of if you're going to hit them or not. If you have lag pip, you can shoot anybody. Doesn't matter. So if you have lag, that's where your bullets will be hitting. I think that's what I was trying to get at. So you can aim it at any target without it actually being targeted, and it's
That makes
easier
sense.
that way. So there's in both situations, I love having lead pip when it's a light aircraft because I can tell what he's doing before he does it. If he's
Right.
starting to speed up, you can literally see him flip and take a flip and burn, you know,
Or
and
changes
that
direction.
pip will start leading way in front of him the faster he starts speeding up, and you kind of
Mhm.
get an idea what he's fixing to do. So, like I
Yeah,
said,
I just
lag pip for bigger ships or lots of combat going on. Uh, uh, Lag pip for lots of combat going or big ships. Lead pip for small craft that are really hard to hit.
I
And
just
see,
tried it here because I'm out flying and listening, and yeah, it took me a second to figure it out, but I do like where that's going with the lag
I
pip.
think I think it's enough of an advantage on both sides. You need to use which one's the best situation you're in, you know, and try to. Um, it will give you an edge if you can figure out which one works better where. But that's why I had it on my list here. Uh, ESP, I don't have a lot of information on it, but it
I
seems to be
I have
messing
a
up
little
right
bit.
now.
Never
So
worked.
I have a
basically,
little.
from my understanding, is it's messing up. I have a random bullet that just fires off in the middle of nowhere, sometime every once in a while, and from my understanding, that's why it does that. So turning it off would be better in some situations.
Can I
But
The
interject
part
on
I
that?
yeah, go ahead.
The only way to turn it off is within the ship. It used to be in game settings, and they took that out where you could turn it
I
off by default. And now you got to set a keybind to it and turn it off every time you power up your ship.
yeah, I
Okay.
would agree with that.
Anybody have any
I
questions on lag pip, lead pip, or the ESP?
I do
Can
have
you
something to
turn
add about
both on at
ESP
the
though.
same time?
Yeah,
Yeah, one more
Yeah.
time on the ESP. I didn't follow that.
What, the lag pip?
No, the ESP.
No, I was asking Fidget. You mean can you turn which one on it?
Can you have lead and lag at the same time?
Negative. I wish. That would be kind of nice.
um,
Uh, ESP.
I can add a little bit about ESP. It does have that bug where it fires the one random bullet off, but what I noticed is it tends to help correct your aim and keep it on the lead pip. I'm not sure if it works with the lag pip, but it's almost like a gimbal assist, but for your entire ship and fixed
Okay. Well, there you
weapons.
go. All right.
That's what I noticed it
So
seems to do.
moving on, speed limiter. This is probably the number one thing I think we have issues with our group, me myself included. Speed, controlling your speed in combat. Your weapons, especially gimbals, work a lot better if you're in the white bar of your speed. If you're in the red and trying to fire, you're wrong, basically. You need to be at the top, preferably toward the top of your white would be your max. So set your limiter. This is my suggestion, like I said in the beginning. Set your limiter at the top where it is by default. You don't really need to change it. I used to change it all the time, but I'm trying to correct it myself as well. When you want to go faster than that, if someone gets, let's say, 3K out and you're trying to catch them, turn it off. There's a toggle for it. You can literally turn it on and off. And then once you close that distance before you get to them, turn it back on so you can then slow back down. Because if you're hauling butt and you turn it on, you're still going to pass them and you're going to be in the same situation again. But controlling your speed is probably one of the top things we're going to try to work on, that I want you to work on when you're dueling, when you're doing arena commanders, everything. I want you to try to get on their butts and stay there. Stay within like 1,000 meters. That's where all the fighting should be taking place. If you're just jousting back and forth, you're wrong. So try to get used to not changing the limiter and turning it, toggling on, off, on, off. Compare that with cruise control, and you've got really two buttons that you can control all the speeds you need.
Okay, what's the toggle? What is where do you find it? The key binding for it?
Flight
It's
movement.
movement. I'll find it real fast for you, and then
Or vehicle flight. But I can't remember how that's headed now.
Does match target velocity still work?
No.
It-
Well, does it?
It does, but the target you're chasing chases velocity so much your ship is constantly trying to adjust, and as soon as you put your hand on the stick, you override it. So
if you don't have a cruise control and you want to set that to toggle, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 from the bottom is cruise control, and the toggle on and off, is it relative or ABS? I think it's ABS, isn't it?
speed limiter
Above
on off.
that-
Yeah.
Above that, you'll see match target velocity. Above that is acceleration limiter up, down, in parentheses, ABS. I think that's the correct one.
No, acceleration limiter is completely different. Speed limiter.
Oh, you're right. You're right. My bad.
Speed limiter on off toggle.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah. Guys, notice though, pay attention to these things, because if you're not paying attention and you got it on, you'll smash yourself right into a rock or a space station. So
Try to get used to just taking a little longer in some situations. And if you do turn the limiter off, watch your speeds and try not to hit. When you hit that top end of the red, the top 5%, there's a huge speed increase there. It goes from like 800 to whatever 1200 in that tiny area. That's why when you stop, if you top it out and then you stop, it just sits there forever trying to cool down, come back down. Another thing is the boost. I personally use boost for acceleration and deceleration. So if you have a good tank that has a lot of afterburner fuel, then you can do that as well.
why is it not working now?
Any questions on the speed limiter or the boost or cruise control?
Do you know what the difference is between absolute and relative speed limiter?
I do not know what relative is.
I have that. I know that, but do we want to get into that? It's not hard. It's just,
If you can give like a 2-second answer, yes, go ahead.
if you're using a slider or a joystick axis of some kind, relative is depending on how far you pushed on that lever or axis, how fast it will climb to the top. It will top out, but how fast it'll do it. Absolute is based on exactly where that axis is. So if you only turn the axis halfway, you're only going to climb halfway. So absolute's probably the one you want.
Yeah. Relative would just screw me up.
Kind of like mouse acceleration,
Kind of like what?
like mouse acceleration, but for a throttle.
I've never understood mouse acceleration, so probably.
Okay.
Smiling nod.
Yeah.
I'd explain it, but I feel like, well, it's just if mass acceleration is if you move your mouse fast, it moves further, and if you move it slow, it moves less fast. It moves less.
Yeah,
fast.
kind of like that.
Okay, let's try to move on.
Stay on target.
Yep. Still got. Oof. I'm already over. I was hoping to be almost done by now. Okay, we were at speed limiter. Any other questions on that speed limiter? Everybody get what that's doing and everything?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mhm.
And when you turn it off, you will see a square that's solid when it's on, and it'll have holes in the square basically whenever you're when it's off. So there's a different icon there for that square.
Solid versus dashed, maybe? Something
Yeah,
like that?
dash.
Pretty
It's kind of like
much.
dash, but you basically just have the corners.
Okay.
Countermeasures. Very important. A lot of people just don't bother trying to bind it or forget where it is. Know where it is and be able to use it on the fly.
There's 3 kinds of missiles, right?
Yeah, and only two types of countermeasures.
Seems like noise is pretty much counting most things except for heat seeking, of course. That's the other one. But what I did is I made a macro, and I can help you with this later. But if you have any kind of some of the joysticks can do it, some of the keyboards can do it, mouse can do it, and then you can bind in the software to that mouse button or whatever, and you can get it to. What I do is I did it in voice tack, and I say countermeasures. It shoots one, it switches and shoots the other one. So no matter what, it's throwing both of them each time. So I suggest doing that if you can. Most people have if you got a gaming keyboard, mouse, or anything, you can pretty much do that.
So you said you like to shoot both flares and
Yeah,
noise.
because you have like 50 flares or something most of the time. You have a lot. You only have one noise, or I have 5 noise, I think. So you always have a smaller amount of noise, but you can do it so it just keeps rotating through them and shooting one of each like that.
What is a noid?
Also with flares, if you hold right alt and push, I think it's H, you can actually increase the number of flares you drop per button push. And I think I forget, or maybe it's left alt H. And left alt H resets it or decreases it. So, like for example,
I never
was
drop more
doing
than one. I always drop one, just so you know.
right. But I was dueling a couple of people one time where they kept launching missiles at me, and one flare wasn't cutting it. So that was actually helpful then to drop like 3 or 4 at a time, because the missiles would come in waves of like 4.
Okay, so mine normally does that still though. I don't understand. I do try to strafe when I have missiles inbound. What I do is I throw my chaffs and then I stop my forward momentum and I strafe straight up. I've done it in the Vanguard. I've done it in everything, and make sure that you have plenty of afterburner fuel for that, and hit the afterburner as soon as you try to hit your afterburner to slow down. Tap it a couple times, slow down, and then strafe straight upwards and hit your afterburner so that you can take off and get a really nice distance. And those missiles, stay looking at the missiles as they're oncoming, and you do kind of and keep watching them as they're strafing up, and you will do like a half C if you can imagine it. You'll basically do a half of a C facing downward, the open part of the C facing down. Does that make sense?
What heading are the countermeasures under? I'm not finding them.
So
Countermeasures.
countermeasures are under vehicles, shields, and countermeasures in the options menu under key bindings. Under advanced.
Copy. Yeah, I'm there. I'm scrolling. Vehicle scanning. Found it.
It's right
Thank you.
below missile.
I found it. Thank you.
But that's like the number one thing. Like most newer people die to that because they don't have that memorized where that location is or have it bound or whatever. Just remember where it's at and be ready to use it on the fly. So make sure it's in a comfortable location. Any other questions about countermeasures?
You said vehicles, shields, and countermeasures, and what's it labeled as in that section?
So,
Noise and burst. Noise and burst.
Well, there's
It says decoy and noise
decoy
right
and
now.
noise.
Oh, decoy. Noise.
So
It changed it.
decoy is flare, noise is chaff.
Yeah, they changed the name on us a while back.
Yep.
But yeah,
Eh,
you can.
Apparently, you can toggle a increase size or decrease size.
Yes,
Yep.
you can.
So another thing you can do is with decoys, if you hold the button, like on the controller, if you hold the button down, it'll load up a number, and whenever you release, it'll launch however many you loaded up. So that's another way to do a burst if you want.
All right, moving on.
Real quick. So this might not be good for today, but maybe in the future, a related topic I would like to kind of go over the missile symbols and just be sure that I know what those are.
Can I say them real fast? The three vertical lines, that's heat. The diamond with the two chevrons on the left and right side, that's cross section, and the lightning bolt is EM.
And there you go.
Okay.
That's all it is.
And the you can toggle. If you're interested in that, let me know later because I don't want to waste any more time. But there is a toggle where you can turn on your EM, cross section, and IR, so you can see how strong each one is and know where your weaknesses are. But there's a toggle for that by default,
Actually,
I think, in the control settings.
I think it's already on by default though. But it's those three
Mine
bars
wasn't.
above. Oh, well, mine was
We
when
actually
they
turned it on.
implemented it. Mine was when they implemented it.
But next one is Padlock.
About padlocking, which allows me to move in one direction while by going to first P, and I can even follow objects.
That video's breaking up. Oh,
No,
he's,
I'm trying to
he's
find
Just
scrolling.
skipping around.
He's scrolling. I see it.
Unless
Okay.
ways padlocking, which is really nice.
I haven't watched this. I'm trying to just find the information.
Beans invite out.
Control custom is key for getting the actually at your foe's engines or
Okay, this is where I want it to be.
orbit space combat gameplay.
All right, everybody good to go?
Yep.
Anybody not there? Say something. Okay,
Advanced
fine.
control customization under the vehicle's targeting section near the bottom. This keybind lets you toggle the feature on and off, or
There you go. Under the vehicle section.
Forgetting.
Ooh, what does that do?
on and off, or to
We're
hold
about-
it down to turn on
fixing to show
padlocking
you.
temporarily until you let it go. This keybind is also bindable to joysticks. Star Citizen is always pushing more of its space combat.
Okay, see how right there? See how his view is when you padlock and if you go across the crosshairs, if you point it at a ship, it locks onto that ship and it will look around. It follows your head looking your direction that you're looking in the ship will turn. See how he's actually looking at the ship right now and not looking straight forward? It's kind of like free look, or it's a cheap IR tracking type situation for people who don't have it.
What's
Do you
it
have to
like?
have look ahead enabled for it to function though?
No, you don't have to
Okay.
have look ahead at all. This is a whole summer
Okay.
feature. It's just
Okay.
padlock. And see
What-
how you can't even hardly see your ship right now. You see how that is? But he's looking at the actual ship. And you can keep bringing your ship around as you're following where he is. So you can still see what he's doing. Like once they pass you, there's that blind time where you don't know if he's flipped around or what. Especially on light, I suggest this on a toggle because when you have a light aircraft and it's just maneuvering like stupid crazy, this will help you. Like if he flips while he's above your head, you wouldn't know it normally. And by the time you've already got all your momentum going toward him, he's going the other direction. And this will help fight those situations.
And
Positional.
your pip follows where you're looking, even though it's directing your looking.
Yeah, so if you have lead pip, you will know exactly where his direction is if you can't tell by the ship direction. See, like right now, you can see his. This is not the front of his ship at all. This is like above. If you look straight up in your cockpit, it's pretty much where he's looking. Well, you can see the crosshairs down there, but he's looking kind of at a 45 above the crosshairs. But you see that pip. You can still see his pip in a cockpit that will allow you to see it. You can see his marker is moving. Depends on what ship you're flying to. Certain ships have a glass above you, certain ones don't. But
combat. This means that getting into the right position, either
it helps you to bring it around a lot faster. Like it helps you to stay on target. It takes some getting used to though, but it is definitely a feature that will help you in certain situations. My arch nemesis most of the time is light aircraft, and those really, really good combat pilots. They're in a light Gladius or something like that, and they're just really, really good. And they get on your butt, and every time you try to yank and bank one way or the other, they're just counteracting it just as much as you're moving it, and they just stay on your butt till they tear you up. Well, this will kind of help know which direction so you can preemptively try to turn into them.
to avoid incoming fire or to get into that perfect firing position to knock out your foe's
Where do you
engine
find that
turrets
option?
is key for getting the upper hand.
It's like flight targeting, I think.
I'll go back
Vehicles
and look.
targeting.
He literally tells us.
Vehicles targeting.
Find it in the key bindings tab, advanced control customization, under the vehicles targeting
Vehicles targeting
section near the bottom.
near the
This
bottom.
keybind lets you toggle the feature on and off.
Yeah, I've already got it bound, so I'm gonna test it out here.
There you go. That was a huge one. I didn't even know existed when I started looking through key bindings for this.
I'm not seeing anything called padlock.
It's
Yeah, it says enable, disable, target, padlock, toggle, hold. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 from the bottom.
There it is. Okay.
What's the difference between toggle and hold in this instance?
I don't know what hold would be. I honestly don't know. I just use
Hold would be a momentary thing. So if you held the button down, as long as you hold it down, you're locked. If you
So
let go,
So
Go
a stab
forward.
a stab is a toggle, and if you're holding it, it'll release when you release it.
yep,
Copy.
that's my understanding. But the whole thing in this game is you never know.
That clarified it quite a bit for me, though. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions about it? All right. The most important next one is targeting the different cycles, and there's a million different ones. And I kind of dove into it, and like I said before, this is my opinion. This is what I think are the better of the two. If you had to pick the top two, the top one would be I did look up these. I didn't look up the rest of them, but it's hold on, let me read my notes here. Cycle lock, hostiles, reset closest, and that will target your closest red person that's nearest to you. It used to actually say target nearest enemy, but anyways. So that will bring up the nearest hostile towards you, and you can get it really fast and be on target and start shooting them. The
So that
second one,
was vehicle targeting.
Vehicle cycle targeting or targeting cycle. I can't remember.
cycle
Target
lock.
cycling.
It'll say cycle lock dash hostiles dash reset closest.
He's wondering what subsection it's in.
It's vehicles
Okay.
hyphen target cycling, and then it's down low.
Target cycling. Sorry, I should have said that before.
Okay, so
Hostiles forward is your preference.
No, hostiles reset closest, because it'll always. So if you're in a situation, especially with the AIs, you have 3 different pips. You don't know which one's the closest to you. You pop that. Now you've targeted the closest one to you, and you can shoot him. You blow him up. You've got 2 targets left. You hit it again, it's going to get the next closest to you. You kill him. You hit the next one, and it targets him. So you're always close. You know, the highest threat is always being acquired, basically, because it's the one that's closest to you. that would be the number one in my book. If you had to have only two, I would pick. Let me get to this other one. Let me see where y'all are at. It's all going to be under this. All the targeting is under those target cycling vehicles, target cycling. If you had to have another one, my opinion again, cycle, lock, in view, under reticle.
Are there default bindings or?
Don't
No.
know. I actually don't know.
Under reticle is default T.
Oh yeah, that one. Yeah, that's the one I've been using.
Okay, so that always targets the enemy that you're pointed at. I would also put cycle, lock, in view, forward on that same exact button. And those would be the two buttons if I had to only have two. If you have room for two more buttons, I'll give y'all time to get those bound if you want. Is anybody still messing with those?
Well, probably going to get rid of the pin selected target and replace that with the cycle lock hostiles reset to closest.
Yeah, so that's just a really easy way to get into the combat really fast. There's 3 enemies around you, target the closest one to you, and go at it. Now, if you're trying to help a friend and find a certain target, you'd need more than just that. But and those would be my next two buttons. But if you only have two buttons, that's what your hostiles, of course, I've already explained that. But the other one will allow you to pick friendly or hostile targets. It's not necessarily bound to hostile or friendly. It's just whatever's in your reticle. And then that, so if you hit it, so if you're looking at an enemy and you hit T, it's going to select a target in your reticle. If there's more than one, you hit it again and it's going to rotate through those. That's what that cycle in view forward would be. And it starts going forward in the process of going through them. So you can use both of those as one button. I think it's already set up that way on the keyboard, actually.
Okay,
there-
cycle lock in view forward.
Yeah, under reticle. So both of them are cycle, lock, in view, forward, and under reticle. They're right beside each other. One forward's on top of under reticle.
By default, they're both bound to T.
Well, there you go. So
Which-
if you have a joystick or something, you'll want that on one of those, most likely.
You can use both on the same button.
Yep.
In that instance about forward, that's like what you're looking at. Like whatever, if you have multiples that are effectively under your reticle.
Right. If you had like 5 guys and you were so far away you could see all 5 pips and you're trying to cycle through to find a certain one,
Copy.
friendly or unfriendly, it will cycle all targets no matter what if they're friendly or unfriendly.
All right. I had under reticle bound, but not forward.
Yeah. So bind it to that same
Copy.
button so you'll go
Copy.
through the process. It'll start with one, go through them, and then go back to that certain one again. Now there is a back if you wanted a back. If you went past it and wanted to go back to it. Otherwise, you'd have to keep going back through it. But there's tons of buttons, and I just think this is going through it until you find it again would be better if you had to. And as you get closer, you could kind of single it out by putting the target if you saw it, anyways. And so the last one is if you have 2 more buttons and you want them, I suggest cycle hostilities forward and cycle friendlies forward. I have a hat on one of my joysticks, so these are I set them all to the same hat. I've got nearest hostiles, up or down, and then cycle the opposite of whatever you choose. So up and down is hostiles, left to right is friendlies, or left is lock onto my reticle and keep hitting it if I want to cycle through it, and then the right is going through all the friendlies once I have one targeted. Any questions about any of that?
That makes sense.
What about to deselect? Is that the unlock
Left
lock
alt.
target?
Yes.
Yeah, that's left alt T.
That'll clear your MFD and anything on your head.
In terms of targets.
Cool.
That's actually the end of the. That's the end of the bindings. That's the Combat 101 bindings. These will, I think, help you and give you an edge over other pilots for sure.
Do you have to be at
I
a
think-
certain distance to target lock friendly?
They just have to be detected.
As long as it's on your radar and you're picking them up, you can select them.
If you are cycling through teammates, make sure you tell everybody because it freaks everybody out because all of a sudden their HUD just lights up radar lock and everybody goes, "Who just locked me?" So
Yeah.
it was a
That is-
common thing in
Oh,
Jumptown. That
I did have one more thing.
Go ahead.
MFDs. If you're limited on MFDs and you only have 2, like the Vanguard has, I highly suggest having self target. I think is what it's called.
self
Or
status, self status.
status
on
and
one
target
of them,
status.
and target status on the other. Put whatever else below the view, and make sure you always have those and change them every time you get in the ship if you have to. Every time I get in the Vanguard, I have to set up my MFDs, all 4 of them. It's really a pain in the butt, but I suggest doing it and don't forget to do it because knowing the status of someone's shields is going to give you an edge in combat for sure.
Mhm.
How do you do that?
You just click on the MFDs and click on the appropriate MFD.
Yeah, so on each
Sections.
MFD, it'll have a menu in the top left side. You can use your hold F, scroll in with your mouse wheel, and then you can push it to kind of lock it there. And then you can select menu and go through all the MFDs. I think there's 7 of them.
Ah.
But you want to see your hull and shields, not just the shields. You want to hull and shields, left or right, and then target on the whatever the opposite one is. But those are the 2
Self-status.
most important ones.
Self status and target status.
Yep.
There you go. But make sure you have that up. You don't want to be fighting without that. And make sure you're watching it. So the main things to work on this on your homework when you're doing that is countermeasures. Very important. Try using all these bindings, of course, but speed limiter. Main keys is controlling your speed. Try very, very hard to come on the target and then stop. And, maintain kind of what they're doing and stay on them. That's what I want you to practice.